Look at this brain trust here, huh? The hourly rate on this group alone. So y'all guys know that we get a lot of emails from homeowners who are thinking of buying a house, which is a nerve-wracking process for a lot of people. And they're always wondering, all right, I'm not going to do a lot of renovations. I just want to know if I should buy it or not. What are the red flags that would cause it to be a deal breaker? From your guys' eyes, the things that cause you concern to say, think twice. Anybody got a...
Well, one of the things, Kevin, that's going on all over the country in every hot market is people have to skip their home inspection.
Yeah.
So they have to do their own, and they miss a lot.
That is the professional helping out a novice, and to think that they would forego that is... It should cause some concern. It's just,
Like Mark said, but they don't have to skip it. They're skipping it because they don't want to lose that house.
Yeah.
And they're overbidding on some kind the cost of the house.
tough market right now. But what are you looking for when you...
When I look at a house, when I get out of the truck and I'm looking at a house, I look for straight lines. I look at the roof to see if it's got a little dip in it. And I look at the walls to see if they're crooked. I look at the windows, the condition of the windows. I look at the grade around it. Is the water coming into the building, or is it going to be going away from the building? And if I get inside, then I look at the foundation. If I see some hairline cracks this way, that's not a problem. But if, let's say, if it's a block foundation and there's a big crack this way, that could be a problem, both with the outside grading and inside, and that can be an expensive fix.
So when you look at those things, Tommy, are you thinking, okay, that's going to cost me this, that's going to cost me that, but is there anything on that list that says run away?
A lot of people buy a house with the idea that they're just going to put paint and paper into the house, or maybe paint the kitchen cabinets as opposed to change the kitchen cabinets.
Right.
But if they have to renovate the bathroom, they have to do major wiring, all that kind of stuff, can make a big difference.
Okay, good. Who's Mara? What are you eyeballing?
Well, when I'm going to look for a painting project, a couple things that I check first of everything. How old is that house, and how old is that paint job?
When you look at a paint job, can you estimate how old it is? Can you
More
say
or less
5 years ago, 10 years
that's
ago?
10 years ago, that's 20 years ago,
20.
and that goes up.
Right.
So the problem is, if a house was built before 1978, you're gonna assume they have lead paint on it.
Right.
And if we have to paint that house, it's gonna be a huge amount of work. Preparation, protecting everything, protecting the floor, the homeowners, doors, windows, and the neighbors.
And you?
And me, myself, and the boys, everybody. And the numbers for a regular paint job that doesn't have lead paint is this much. For lead paint, it's this
That
big.
much, right. Good.
So in my world, in the plumbing world, you get miles and miles of water piping inside of any building, and any leak is a catastrophe. So there's just some stuff you'd want to look for, in any building back in the earliest part of the 20th century. It might have had threaded brass, and that was just threaded together with fittings. In the war era, they went to galvanized. This was metal with a special galvanized treating. Either one of those where the threads are can become absolutely brittle from electrolysis. So any of the old piping should be a caution. Polybutylene was the wonder product in the 70s, and it was proven to be a failure, and so you should worry about that.
And what failed, Richard? The pipe itself?
Well, it
or
was
these
both. It was
compression-
linear expansion on the pipe, but it was also the connections. That's a tricky thing to make a metal to plastic connection.
And to make it last for 40,
Correct.
50
And so,
years, right.
so the modern PEX systems are terrific, and their connections are really good. The other thing is, on regular copper, there's one call out I want to mention, and that is you can tell the thickness of copper pipe by its color coding. So this is red and this is blue, and this is the grade or sidewall thickness. So right here, so this is the thicker one, the blue or the L, and you can see that it's very thin. Now, the thin by itself is not a problem, but if you add electrolysis from the loose ground or something like that, you can pit corrode in that thin wall.
If you see the thinner wall copper, are you assuming you have to replace it, or is it just
Not
something
assuming,
that
but it still has to be a cautionary tale that you're going to say, look, if I'm going to now do a bathroom remodel somewhere in the building, I'm going to replace all that thin gauge pipe when I'm doing it, because it's cheaper to just do it at that time. You just want to eliminate the amount of risk. You want to reduce your risk as much as possible.
That's good to know.
Some other things come to mind, maybe not deal breakers, but the age of the mechanical and plumbing equipment. So most equipment has a rating plate on it, so you have the model number, the serial number, and the date of manufacture.
That's always there.
That's there. Yep. And so with that date, you can compare that to what the actual life of that piece of equipment is. So if you have a water heater that's 9 or 10 years old, date of based on the data manufacturer. It's probably going to be replaced in the future.
Maybe not a deal breaker if you got old equipment, but at least now you go into it knowing I've got an expense in my near-term future.
That's right.
What about when you walk up to a house, Ross, and you see solar? Because a lot of houses have it now.
Yep.
Does that cause you concern, or does that make you happy?
The one thing I would caution is, how is that solar financed? So is it a lease or a power purchase agreement? If it's one of those two financing vehicles for that solar, then I'd be concerned about reading the fine print on that and understanding the terms that you're signing, when you sign the P&S.
Previous homeowner buys it outright, no concern. Those two other deals, you may have a partner
That's right.
in your roof, so just know what it is.
Financing partner in that case. Yep.
Gotcha.
Exactly right.
Okay. Who's
So the first thing I want people to be aware of is that don't panic on the age of the house necessarily. Our electrical codes change constantly. We're updating them with new materials, new methods, better and safer ways. So that doesn't mean that the stuff you have is bad or unsafe or was installed properly. It was probably perfectly fine when it was installed and is still probably good. But that being said, you do want to look for a couple of things. If you have a fuse box service with the actual screw-in fuses and knob and tube wiring, that's a big red flag. A lot of places won't even insure you with the knob and tube wiring still in the house, so you're looking at removing all of that and rewiring.
No, you can't insulate the house either if it has no tubing.
you?
So in my business, the chimneys, they get missed a lot. If you don't have that professional inspection, you really don't know what you're looking for. A couple things that I've been seeing for the last couple years is I've noticed that, again, because they miss that in the inspection, the chimney starts to lean out, which means you have to take it down to where it starts to lean. Again, you're putting up staging now. Now you have to relay the brick. You have to find the brick to match. Just a multitude of problems that come along with missing that on your inspection.
Gotcha.
So it can be scary in some ways, but not so scary in other ways. Houses have been around a long time.
Even the worst of these deal breakers might not be enough to stop you from buying that dream house if you finally find it.
Absolutely.
You're just going to have a budget set aside for it.
Yep.
A rainy day fund.
And it doesn't always have to be done right now either.
Right. All right. Well, thank you all. So what'd that cost me? $250 an hour,
Yeah, that's right.
$175 an hour. Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.